Can you hear me? Can you hear us?
Hello and welcome to Mike Stand, a podcast by the Student Alliance for Nationalism and Democracy of the University of San Carlos. I am your host, Jao Villanueva, with my co-host, Chin Martin.
For this episode, we are honored to be accompanied by a longtime human rights lawyer, a Juris Doctors of Law, magna cum laude at the Northern Illinois University, United States of 1986. He's also a graduate of Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy in University of the Philippines, Diliman, chairman of FLAG or the Free Legal Assistance Group. He's also the Presidential Advisor of Human Rights of Integrated Bar of the Philippines up until 2019. And a member of the arbitrators of the International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes. He's also the founding dean of De La Salle University College of Law and a general counsel of the Senate Tribune Committee for 2001 to 2004 and a special counsel of the Development Bank of the Philippines from 2004 to 2006. Lastly, he is a former senatorial candidate of Ocho Derecho. I think the listeners can already guess who our speaker is. So our speaker is here to share his insights and personal opinion about leadership and also to answer your questions regarding good governance, leadership qualities, and so on.
So that's right. Our topic for today will be New Year, New Leader. As we enter this year, we help mold the future of our country by putting competent people in position. The pandemic has taught us that in trying times, we need leaders who would dedicate themselves to putting the needs of the Filipino above personal interest. Aside from that, we need leaders who make concrete and specific plans to elevate the unfavorable situation that the Filipino people have been put in. And lastly, we need leaders who are not detached from reality. So as we proceed to our discussion, please help us welcome Atty. Chel Diokno. So, hello Atty. Chel. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence despite your hectic schedule. But before anything else, we would like to know ano po yung pinagkakaabalahan ng isang Atty. Chel this pandemic?
Unang-una, maayong adlaw and thank you to the Student Alliance for Nationalism and Democracy. Hello sa lahat ng estudyante ng University of San Carlos and everyone who is here with us today. And ang tanong ninyo ay kung ano yung pinag-aabalahan ko ngayon. Kung ano-ano. Marami akong mga project, iba-iba. Nagtuturo ako ngayon. Meron akong teaching load sa De La Salle. I just finished nung Sabado. Nagbigay ako ng parang workshop sa mga incoming first-year law students para makatulong naman sa kanila in terms of entering law school and being prepared for what happens inside the College of Law. And aside from that, sunod-sunod din yung mga paanyaya ng iba't ibang grupo. Tulad ninyo, a lot of my invites come from the youth. And I'm so happy to be with you today.
Yes, attorney. And we have also seen your TikTok videos, some of your TikTok videos. Oo. Natutuwa po kami kasi it encourages people to know the truth and yun nga po yung sinabi niyo po, yung pinagkakaabalahan niyo na you're helping students to get inside law school. And also, attorney, by the way, how long have you been a human rights lawyer?
Ever since I passed the bar way back in 1989. Kaya lampas sa 30 taon na. I've been human rights lawyer for more than 30 years.
Wow! Napakatagal na pala, attorney, no? And
that's right.
Gusto ko lang sabihin na in behalf of STAND, we thank you for your service to the Filipino people. Okay, so, attorney, let's proceed to our first question. Okay po ba?
Sure.
Okay. So, we all know that people are talking about having new leaders to promote good governance. Pero, how would Atty. Chel define good governance po ba?
I think there are two essential qualities to good governance. One is accountability and the other is transparency. Tingin ko, if you're a leader, of course, you must be responsible for your actions and take responsibility for your decisions. Kasama sa trabaho ng isang leader yon. But also, you must make sure that if anyone on your watch does something that is not right, dapat meron silang ng pananagutan. Kaya sa akin, malaking bagay talaga yung accountability. And it's a bit sad to say that hindi natin talaga nakikita yan sa kasalukuyan. The other is really transparency. I believe that all leaders should be transparent in everything that they do. And I think this applies across the board, whether you are a leader in your campus, in your community, or national leader, dapat may accountability at dapat may transparency. For me, that's really what good governance means.
That's true, Attorney. Even in a school setting, you should be transparent at all times. And of course, you should hold yourself accountable also for the things that you have implemented or even for your personal actions. But Attorney, as a human rights lawyer, I just want to ask, in what ways does good governance promote human rights? Like, do they even have a connection or of some sort?
Definitely. I truly believe that they are intimately connected. Because when you talk about human rights, ang ibig sabihin ng human rights talaga ay kung sino man ang maglalabag sa ating dignidad, sa ating right to life, at sa iba natin mga karapatan, ay dapat may pananagutan. So human rights is about accountability. But human rights is even deeper than that because human rights is also about empowerment. When we recognize the rights of a worker, of fisher folk, of indigenous peoples, we are empowering them. And tingin ko lang, dahil sa nangyayari sa ating bansa, kailangan ng ating mga kapatid, lalo na yung mga nangangailangan, kailangan nila na ma-empower. Kasi ang nangyayari sa atin, parang power is only in the hands of a few. And I don't think that's good for our country.
That's really true, Attorney. And it's so sad na that power should be used to protect the people, right? To protect those who are vulnerable. And when you said that this power has only been exercised by a few people, I also feel for you when you said that you're saddened and disheartened with that fact.
Yes, that's why I hope that especially with your help, with the help of the youth, we can really build a wonderful nation. A nation that sabihin natin na makatao at makatarungan. Dahil yun talaga yung hinahanap natin bilang isang bansa.
Well, that's actually a good answer, Attorney. And I really agree that that's what people actually need, right? Especially right now. And speaking about human rights, Attorney, what do you think can leaders do to reduce human rights violation, especially nowadays na alam naman natin na, apakarami na, and ayaw natin mag-mention kasi we have a lot of listeners. So, yeah. So, what do you think, Attorney?
Number one, if we really want to promote human rights, we must be willing to stand up and call out people kung nakikita natin na nilalabag nila yung karapatan ng iba. And at this point, I really would like to explain kasi minsan nagkakaroon tayo ng misinformation tungkol sa human rights. Basically, tatatlo lang naman yung karapatan natin. Yung iba natin rights doon nanggagaling sa 3 basic rights natin. Yung pinaka-basic right natin, syempre yung karapatan natin mabuhay, yung right to life. Because without that right to life, we cannot enjoy any of our other rights. So that is really, to me, the most basic and most important right that we must all respect. Kasi yung buhay naman natin, hindi naman galing sa atin yan . Yung buhay na yan ay galing sa itaas, sa ating Diyos. And we must revere and respect that all the time. But it's not enough to be alive. Because if you're alive, but you're treated worse than an animal, di wala tayong dignidad. Kaya yung pangalawa nating karapatan is the right to life with dignity. And every one of us, no matter kung saan tayo galing, kahit tayo yung pinakamahirap o pinakamadungis na tao, ay dapat igagalang pa rin natin yung dignidad ng isa't isa. And then pangatlo, when we are born, God gives us some certain talents. Yung kanya-kanyang galing tayo, di ba, pag napanganak tayo. Yung iba sa inyo, I'm sure, magagaling kayo sa math o magagaling kayo sa arts o kung ano man. And we have a basic right to use those talents not only for ourselves or our family but for our community and for our nation. Kaya yung tatlong basic right natin, right to life, right to dignity, and right to develop. These 3 rights are very, very important. Isipin nyo kung ang mundo ay walang ganon. Kung hindi natin iginagalang ang karapatan ng isa't isa na mabuhay, na may dignidad at para na makaka-asenso, we would have a really terrible world without human rights.
That is very true, Attorney. And talagang tumatak sa akin yung sinabi niyo pong tatlong basic rights na dun nakukuha din po yung mga ibang rights natin. So the right to life, the right to dignity, and the right to develop. But Attorney, during this pandemic, I somehow do not see that these rights have been nurtured. And during this pandemic, there were certain decisions that the current administration made that weren't really necessary, as I may say, or relevant to the current situation. For instance, when the anti-terror law was passed, and it was passed amidst the pandemic, wherein everyone was just struggling to survive. And napakaraming nawalan ng mga trabaho, napakaraming mga buhay na nabuwis dulot sa pandemya. And dun pa talaga pinasa yung anti-terror law. What can you say about how they set their priorities? And did they really make these decisions to protect the rights of their constituents?
Yes, you know, one thing that really saddens me is the fact that parang nakakalimutan ng ating pamahalaan kung ano ba talaga yung super na pangangailangan ng lahat. For example, yung issue ng pagkawala ng trabaho, that has affected so many Filipinos. And yet, hindi natin gaanong nakikita kung ano yung klarong response ng pamahalaan dyan. Kasama doon, kabit doon kasi yung issue ng effect sa ating mga MSMEs, yung mga micro, small and medium enterprises because they employ more than 60% of our workforce. At sila yung talaga natamaan dahil sa mga lockdown at itong pagdating ng COVID-19. Aside from that, it's also the issue of yung inyong right to education. Kasi marami rin ang naiiwanan kung puro online learning tayo, hindi naman lahat may access. Either walang access sa electronic device o kaya walang access sa internet. And that has really made life difficult for a lot of young people. And yung epekto niyan kasi hindi lang naman sa inyo eh. That's going to affect the entire country because kayo yung susunod na henerasyon. Actually, inyo na nga ang Pilipinas ngayon because you are more than half of our population are young people like you. So these are things that I was hoping would be the priority of our government. Hindi yung ibang mga batas na nabanggit nga ninyo na sa tingin ko rin ay hindi naman yun ang dapat bigyan ng priority ng ating pamahalaan.
I actually agree with what you said, Attorney, no? Because we can never deny na kahit anong gawin natin, kahit anong administrasyon, meron talaga mga tao na nasa kapangyarihan who will always have priorities na hindi makamasa. So, Attorney, do you think that the government leaders should really take their priorities on point? And what measures should these leaders take to know the concerns of the majority so that they will know what their course of action will be and how and when to address those concerns?
I think the kind of leaders we need, especially today under a pandemic, are leaders who are willing to listen and are willing to consult the people. Because wala naman perfect, wala naman leader na alam niya lahat ng sagot sa problema ng bayan. And the more we are open to other people's opinions and to listening to kung ano yung hinaing nila, ano yung saloobin nila, the more we can respond to the real needs of the people. Kaya sa akin, one quality we would need for our leadership is to really look out for the interests of the people. And we do that by listening and by consulting. Aside from that, ang tingin ko, we need leaders who really love our country from inside. Ibig ko sabihin, yung hugot ng puso nila ay pagmamahal sa inang bayan. Kasi kung talagang minamahal nila yung ating inang bayan, all decisions will come from that heart. And all decisions, bago sila magdedesisyon, they will say, what is best for our people? What is best for our country? That is one thing that is so important for me. Personally, I truly believe that we should never ever choose leaders who do not really love their country. Madali naman sabihin na minamahal mo yung bansa, pero dapat makita natin sa action nila kung talagang may pagmamahal sila sa ating bansa.
Yes, that's really true, Attorney, no? So, with all that's happened to the Philippines sa kasalukuyang administrasyon, ano po ba yung klase ng leaders na nakikita nyo para sa mga Pilipino sa mga susunod po ng mga administrasyon?
Sana ang maging mga liderato natin ay yung tinatawag na mga servant leader. Yung nakikinig, yung nagkokonsulta, yung palaging nagdedesisyon na nakabatay doon sa kung ano yung interest ng taong bayan. That's the kind of leader we desperately need in this kind of situation na nasa ilalim tayo ng pandemic. And I truly believe we need leaders who understand that this is a public health emergency. Ang kalaban natin dito, hindi mga may hawak na armas. Ang kalaban natin dito, hindi mga taong gustong ipabagsak ang pamahalaan. Walang ganun eh. Ang kalaban natin dito ay virus. Ito ay public health issue. Kaya ang dapat magmamanage nitong public health issue ay yung mga nakakaalam sa public health, yung marunong sa infectious disease, yung marunong sa paghawak ng health infrastructure natin. Because after all, I will tell you one thing that is really talagang nabahala ako. Yung mga mahihirap bago nangyari yung pandemic, ay lalo pang humirap ang buhay ngayon. On the other hand, yung mga mayayaman naman ay lalo pang yumaman sa ilalim ng pandemya. Tama ba yun? Dapat ba ganun ang nangyari sa atin? It should have been the opposite, di ba? Na yung mga may kaya, dapat sila ang tutulong dun sa mga nangangailangan. But unfortunately, I don't see that happening except for the private sector. Kasi doon talaga, I saludo ako sa lahat, lalo na sa inyong mga kabataan na nagsariling initiative para makatulong sa kapwa. Because when we realized that many of our brothers and sisters were not getting help when they should be getting it, maganda yung nag-step up na tayo mismo at tayo na ang tumulong sa kanila. I'm so happy to see that happen in our country.
Oo nga po, Attorney, no? There are so many initiatives like the community pantries. It has been spreading all over the world already. I mean, the country, it has already been circulating. Ang daming mga initiative. And yes, most of the people who are initiating these projects or these activities are the youth. And oo nga po, Attorney, no? Kasi may pundo naman tayo sa gobyerno. Edi dapat gagamitin po natin ito para sa ikabubuti ng mga tao. Tapos I also agree with what you said na hindi naman natin kalaban ng isa't isa. Mayaman, mahirap, mga armado, hindi sila ang ating mga kalaban. At lalong-lalo na yung mga taong nag-speak up para sa mga walang boses or sa mga hindi confident na mag-speak up. And also, yung part po na tayo-tayo na lang ang nagtutulong-tulong, somehow disheartened that we have leaders who are in the position, as what you have said, who have the power to help the people. Pero bakit parang tayo na lang ang nagtutulong-tulong dito?
Yes, I fully agree with you. At sana kung pagdarating na yung pagkakataon, dahil next year meron na tayong pagkakataon na pumili ng panibagong leadership, sana gamitin talaga natin yung opportunity and let's get the best leaders we can get to really manage our country in this pandemic.
In connection with that, Attorney, no, we all know naman na since before, even up until now, sabi ng karamihan, ang kailangan ng Pilipinas ngayon is hindi yung leader na malumanay, hindi yung leader na medyo mabait. Ano po ba yung opinion nyo regarding sa mga leader na nag-i-instigate ng fear para i-motivate yung gusto nilang mangyari para sa nakararami?
Alam nyo, there are different kinds of strong leaders. Meron strong leader na traditional ang dating na yun nga, nagdidikta, naninigaw, nagmumura pa nga, nagagalit palagi. That's one type of strong leader. Pero alam nyo, ang paniwala ko, the really strong leader, he does not have to get angry para sundan siya. Yung talagang tunay na matibay ang loob na leader. Kahit malumanay magsalita, pakikinggan pa rin siya at susundan yung mga sinasabi niya. Kaya it's your choice. Choice natin yan pagdating sa next elections kung anong klaseng strong leader ang kailangan. Agree ako, we have to have a strong leader. Pero kung anong definition ng ibig sabihin ng strong, sa akin, it's really within that person. It's not yung ginagawa niyang panududuro, etc., etc. I do not believe that is the mark of a real strong leader. Yung strong leader, yung may fortitude. Gustong-gusto ko yung salitang yun. Hindi ko maalaman sa Bisaya o sa Tagalog ano yung direct translation ng fortitude. But fortitude means that you will really push on with what you believe. Malakas ang prinsipyo natin at itutuloy natin hanggang sa katapusan yung nakikita natin na dapat mangyari.
That's true, Attorney. Wala naman po siguro yan sa tono. I don't think that it is really with the words that you speak or the tone of your voice so that people will get to follow you or follow the rules. But it is seen in the principles that you believe and the actions that you have done. Kung if one leader will say this and act otherwise, then kahit ano pang sabihin ng leader na yan, hindi talaga papakinggan ng mga tao kasi it is different from what they speak. And Attorney, this next question is in another point of view. It is inevitable that a politician will have to work with others that are from different parties. Di ba po? Parang hindi naman po siguro vote straight talaga yung mga tao pagdating sa election. So as a leader, what is the most effective mechanism to handle contradicting ideas within a team without exploiting your inherent power to overrule?
I think there are at least two things that the leader must always bear in mind. Dapat makinig tayo kahit alam natin na iba ang pananaw. The more when someone in your team has a different opinion, ako gusto ko nga yun eh. Ayoko yung lahat ng sinasabi ko basta sip-sip na lang yung mga nasa team. I want to hear independent opinions because I think that's what will help shape the good policies that we need to have. So, una yon. Pangalawa, I believe that a good leader should always emphasize the shared values we have as Filipinos. Na kahit na iba-iba yung opinion natin kung sa paparaan, kung ano yung tamang paraan, as long as we can agree that these are what we must treasure the most. For example, yung pagmamahal natin sa ating mga pamilya, yung pagmamahal din natin sa ating kapwa, yung pagkabayanihan natin, these are shared Filipino values that we need to emphasize so that we all go in the same direction. Kasi kahit na iba-iba opinion natin, kung ano yung mismong specific na gagawin, I think we cannot debate whenever we talk about shared values.
That is true, Attorney. Dapat talaga, we will always remember that we have a common ground and that is to serve the Filipinos and to always prioritize their needs. And since the elections, the national elections are fast approaching, I think it is this May 2022, Attorney? Is it correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so since the elections, the national elections are fast approaching, how do you envision the next regime?
I truly hope that the next regime will be pro-people and pro-Philippines and pro-justice. Kasi yun talagang kinakailangan natin eh. Na matugunan yung mga pangailangan natin lahat, lalo na pagdating sa pagkain at sa trabaho. Pero hindi lang yun. I think we need to have leaders who also respect our freedom and our justice in the country. Kasi that is the one thing that has been so elusive for many of us. Na pag tayo ay naging biktima ng pang-aabuso, halimbawa, wala tayong matakbuhan, hindi tayo nakakakuha ng justisya. And I hope that our next leadership will be sensitive to the needs of our people when it comes to those things.
That is true, Attorney. The administration, this administration and all the administrations that are upcoming, and the future politicians or the future leaders of this country should always be pro-people. Because, again, it will always boil down to what are their purpose? Why are they there? And what are they there for, right? And who are they serving? So with all these qualities that you have mentioned in a good leader, Attorney, and how you described the Philippines or how you envision the Philippines in the future, which issue do you think that the new leaders should prioritize in addressing right after the 2022 elections? Because we all know that there are a lot of pressing issues right now that the country is facing.
Number one in my list is the pandemic and how we will manage the pandemic. That would include how do we help the MSMEs, how do we make sure our workforce remains intact. At hindi ko rin nabanggit na yung isang malaking epekto ng unemployment and underemployment are the youth. Because the statistics statistics show that youth unemployment is ×3 of the national number for all Filipinos. Kaya dapat bigyan pansin din at prioridad ng ating next leadership yan. I also think that we have to have a leadership that is very aware of the need of our country for hope. Kasi alam mo, sa pakikipag-usap ko sa mga iba't ibang mga sektor, yun ang palaging theme na na-feel ko sa kanila. Na yung iba natin mga kasama ay talagang nawawala na ng pag-asa, parang sa kanila hopeless na ang sitwasyon. And we need leadership who can bring us that hope so that we can really work for a better tomorrow. Di ba, I'm sure alam nyo rin yan eh. Pag meron kayong leader kahit sa campus ninyo na nakaka-inspire, na nakakadala ng pag-asa, lahat tayo, we all are all energized by that. And that helps really to make sure that we get where we want to go.
I agree, Attorney. We really need a huge bounce back, especially of what's happening around the country. And as what you have said, talagang naapektuhan yung mga kabataan ngayon. Kasi unang-una, we're experiencing the online classes, and as a student myself, I think that having the face-to-face classes is more effective rather than this online setup. And hindi naman lahat may luxury of having a good surrounding to focus on their studies, and that is why talagang naapektuhan kami. And also, there are a lot of board exams that has been postponed, cancelled, and are on hold. Yung sinabi niyo pong maraming parang nadidismaya at parang nawalan sila ng gana. Talagang true po yan kasi it's like they're feeling that their dreams are not just put on hold but are cancelled already. And that's very sad to hear, especially from the youth. And especially from what you said, that the population of the Philippines right now consists of mostly youth. And how would we be able to help the country if kami talaga ang naapektuhan nitong pandemya?
Yes, that is so true. I fully agree with you. Actually, I really enjoy interacting with the youth kasi sa aking pag-aaral din ng ating kasaysayan, it's really been the youth who have been the prime movers in our nation.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you for that, Attorney, no? And we will be looking forward to a pro-justice, pro-people, and pro-Philippines leader in the government after the election of 2022. And sana mas maging matalino na ang mga tao sa pagpili ng mga tao na mamumuno sa atin. So to end this topic, Attorney, ano po ang mensahe mo para sa mga tao na nakikinig sa atin ngayon?
I would like to leave this thought with everyone that you are never too young to help our country. You're never too young to speak truth to power. You're never too young to build our nation in the way that we really want to have a just and humane nation. And you're never too young to be wise and to lead our country. Kaya ako mismo, I cannot wait to see how you, the young people, are going to recreate the Philippines. I cannot wait to see that.
We are also excited to see that day, Attorney. And personally, when I was asked by one of my professors if is there hope for the country, and I really stood my ground and said, yes, there is hope for the country. Why would someone think that there isn't? I mean, our generation has not been put in a position yet, and I'm so excited what our generation can do. So thank you, Attorney Chel. Thank you again, and thank you to everyone who is listening today. Just a little summary of what we have been discussing a while ago is that good governance means accountability and transparency. And it is accountability and transparency. And also that human rights and good governance are connected since they need to have, and again, accountability and transparency. As what Attorney Chel said, human rights is deeper than that since it is also about empowerment. We also should be reminded that the power is always in the people, and it is not good that the power will only be exercised by the few or those who are in the position, because the true power again is in the masses, and in the united masses rather. And also, in order for us to promote human rights, we should be willing to stand up and call out the people when we observe that there are rights that are already being stepped on, that are already being trodden, and that's how we will be using our voice to promote human rights. Jao, do you have anything else to say?
Okay, so thank you, Chin. Okay, so other from what Chin mentioned earlier, no, life was poor before the pandemic, but now the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, which is true. And I personally witnessed it with my own eyes here in our community. So yeah, that's really sad to know. And there are different kinds of strong leaders actually. The really strong ones don't have to get angry for people who don't follow them. And in the coming election, we get to choose the type of strong leader we have. So I hope we'll choose wisely. Leaders must bear in mind to listen even when other members have different independent opinions, and how to sympathize or empathize rather the shared values we have as a Filipinos, so we can go in the same direction together. And for the next regime, hopefully will be pro-Filipino, pro-people, and pro-justice, as what Attorney Chel mentioned earlier, that we have or we need to have leaders who protect and respect freedom and justice in this country and should be sensitive to the needs of the people. That the issue we should address in the pandemic should be specifically on how to help the MSME having an intact workforce and giving employment to the youth. So our leaders in the next regime should be aware of the needs of our country and should give hope to the Filipinos. And lastly, your message is that nobody is never too young to help our country, to speak the truth, build our nation to be just and humane, to be wise, and nobody is too young to lead our country. And we all can't wait to see that happen.
That's right. And to our listeners today, I hope that you will always be reminded that we need leaders who should know how to listen to the Filipino people so that they will be able to prioritize our needs and to prioritize the needs, especially of those who are vulnerable. Again, let us choose wisely for our leaders for the next generation.
That's true, no? Okay, so thank you so much, Attorney Chel, for joining us as we talk about New Year, New Leader.
Thank you. And daghang salamat sa lahat.
Daghang salamat din.
Daghang salamat, Attorney. Okay, so as a member of STAND, I experienced a taste of how politics works when I ran for a position in the student council in the University of San Carlos. I realized that different leaders have their own principles and their own intentions for running. And I think what the organization can contribute to promote good governance is to really know the needs of your constituent and to understand them. Because I really believe that collective efforts with the masses and organization can truly serve the people well. How about you, Chin?
That's right. And STAND has always been in the forefront of protecting students' rights, promoting students' welfare, and being in solidarity with other sectors. As we are guided by these principles, we help the community by first being aware of what is happening around and using this knowledge to spread awareness, most especially to those who are prone to misinformation. And Filipinos, once again, let us choose the leaders that we deserve. And these leaders are those who are competent and compassionate enough to serve the best interest of the masses.
So once again, thank you so much for being with us, Attorney Chel Diokno, for being such a forth in answering our questions. And also for the listeners to our episode this month. To access more of our podcast episodes, make sure to follow us on Spotify at Mic Stand and like our Facebook page at Student Alliance for Nationalism and Democracy, University of San Carlos.
Yes, thank you again, Attorney Chel. We have learned a lot from you, and I'm sure that our listeners also gained a lot of insights from you. So stay tuned next month where we talk about the most colorful topic entitled Love Wins 2022 with the loveliest Miss Ern Brian. Look forward to the next episode where she proudly shares her own journey as a member of the LGBTQIA community. If you have any questions, you may send those to us on our Facebook page. Once again, this has been Chin Martin and Jao Villanueva with the bosses ng katarungan, Attorney Chel Diokno.
Carolinians, let's always remember that the greatest victories can be achieved with the mobilization of the Filipino masses and its students. Thank you and good day.